receiving a transmission for Midnight Hour Broadcast, a station found somewhere between dusk and dawn. We bring you music, stories, and the occasional report of things that should not be possible. So settle in and listen close. And remember, do not change your frequency. Good evening, and welcome back to the Midnight Hour Broadcast. Wherever you're listening from, we're glad you found the signal. Tonight's transmission takes us to a small cemetery in southern Illinois, a place hidden among the corn and thyme. At first glance, it doesn't seem remarkable. A few rows of graves, withered stones, quiet ground. But some places are remembered for what they contain, and others for what they refuse to forget. And here, one name continues to surface: Lucinda Irish. Oddfellow Cemetery dates back to 1858. Generations of local families were laid to rest here. For many years, it served its purpose quietly. Then time, like with all things, took its toll. The cemetery fell into neglect. Brush overtook the ground, monuments damaged, headstones removed, broken, or left to fade into the earth. What was once a place of remembrance slowly disappeared from public attention, and according to local legend, that's when the trouble began. The story, most often told, begins in the late 1940s. Development began around the area. Roads were pushed through the property. Construction moved forward. According to local accounts, graves belonging to the Irish family were disturbed during the process. The old cemetery changed, and something else changed with it. The development was never completed. The houses never came, but the road remained, and soon after, the stories began. Visitors started reporting strange experiences. Some claimed they saw a woman walking among the graves after dark. Others reported hearing screams echoing through the cemetery at night. A few claimed they felt watched while standing between the stones. As the story spread, the sightings became attached to a single name: Lucinda Irish. A real grave, a real person who died in 1895, and yet somehow more than that. Historical records tell us that Lucinda Irish was buried here alongside other members of the Irish family. Like most people buried in old cemeteries, Lucinda likely expected time to carry her name quietly into history. Instead, more than a century after her death, strangers still come searching for her. Not because they knew her, not because they knew her family, but because a story grew around the name, and Lucinda Irish refused to stay buried in history. Was there ever a woman walking the grounds after dark? Was Lucinda Irish truly responsible for the sightings? Or did people simply need a face to attach to the strange experiences they reported? No one can say for certain, but there is one detail that stands out. One detail that is particularly interesting. As volunteers and preservation groups began caring for the cemetery, as broken stones were documented, as forgotten graves were remembered, reports of Lucinda Irish became less common. The stories never completely disappeared, but they became quieter, less frequent, and that raises another interesting question. What if Lucinda Irish was never haunting this cemetery? What if the story wasn't about a ghost at all? What if it was about a place that had been forgotten? A cemetery neglected for decades. A resting ground disturbed and damaged. A reminder that the dead deserve to be remembered. Perhaps the stories were warnings. Maybe they were just coincidence. Or maybe the legend of Lucinda Irish survived for one simple reason. People needed a reason to care. And because of that, more than 100 years after her death, her story is still told. But time has a way of wearing down everything it touches. This next transmission is withered into sand.
That peace we had, hands full of the dust, still calling back. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You've made your way into my heart. Inside I know it falls apart, forever by your hand. Withered into sand.
The night does not sleep here. It lingers between what was remembered and what was forgotten, like dreams that never fully fade after waking. This is your final transmission of the night. Nocturnal Dreams. Our transmission draws to a close. Lucinda Irish, a name carried through time. If you listen closely tonight, you may have noticed something familiar. Not in what was said, but in what was felt. Because some places do not forget, and some signals don't stay in one place for long. Thank you for listening. This has been the Midnight Hour broadcast.